We're going to see that. Good afternoon and welcome to CIG TV's live coverage of elections 2021. I'm Donna Bush here with you. Joining me in the studio this time, we have the Supervisor of Elections himself, Mr. Wesley Howell. It's been a busy, busy day, to say the least, for you. But let's kind of backtrack a little bit, and thanks, of course, for being here, by telling our voters out there and the general public what the process is like leading up to all of this.
So, in our off season, our elections office has 2 full-time staff members. Today we have over 500 election workers on 2 islands conducting polls for the 23,000 voters who are registered to vote. And that machinery takes some time to get coordinated with training, with materials, to get voters registered, get those lists updated. And then we move into things like postal ballots and early voting via mobile voting, and then on to election day, counting activities. So it's an involved process.
Right. Well, you are the Supervisor of Elections. It's a huge responsibility for anyone. How involved are some of the past supervisors of elections in the process, and how have they been able to help you personally along the way?
So persons like Mr. Gomez laid a very solid foundation. He ran the elections office with military precision and really fostered a foundation of excellence that I've been really proud to be able to carry on and deliver what are widely regarded as free and fair and elections that are held up to international standards.
Okay. So the election was moved forward a month. Was there a mad rush for your team and yourself?
So I had an interesting conversation with our team leads when we discovered we were advised of the new earlier date. Some of the things that we immediately looked at was that we have quarterly publications of the list of electors, which happens by law. So we have to publish on the 1st of January, on the 1st of April. So an April election meant that we would be doing some things with the January 1st list and then having to redo those things or save some things to happen with the April 1st list.
Right.
Then April has the 4-day weekend this year. So Good Friday, Easter Monday comes right in the middle of the days leading up to a general election. So there were some challenges. And then we had COVID and quarantine to deal with. So there was a lot of hoops to jump through on this one, but fantastic team members. We were able to huddle, review our plans, move training dates around, compress some things, and got it done.
Yeah, that's totally awesome. Just 4 hours after the polls opened this morning at 7 o'clock, there was like a 40% voter turnout so far. What are the numbers like now at this time of day?
We're up to 12,000 voters having been voted within the last hour or so. The numbers come in every hour and hour, so that battle rhythm is sort of ticking away. Sure. Some of the electoral districts are approaching 70% voter turnout so districts like Northside and Cayman East are polling very high already. So their percentage-wise is quite high. So overall, we have more voters voting this time than voted each segment in 2017.
Right.
The overall percentage is lagging less than 2017. And that could just be a timing issue. Maybe some folks are going to be voting this afternoon rather than voting this morning. So we'll see how the numbers pan out at 6 o'clock when we get our final numbers.
Okay. Well, my next question was how do you expect voter turnout to be? And I mean, there's certainly more registered voters this time than they were in 2017. But what are your thoughts on that?
So we're up almost 2,400 voters more than we had in 2017. Right. And what we saw huge interest in voter registration, particularly from young people. So I'm really excited to see young people taking part in the political process. That's their right constitutionally, and it's great to see them because they actually are the most underrepresented demographic on the list of all. So because there was such interest from a wide demographic, including the younger ones, we thought that the voter turnout would be high in some districts in particular.
Okay. You know, this is not a perfect world. This is not a perfect process. Have there been any challenges today at all that you've had to deal with?
So my phone has been buzzing, as has our command center, in relation to candidates sort of loitering. Loitering is a legal term. Spending a lot of time within the 300-foot exclusion zone, which is something that they're allowed to do by law. So they can actually sit in the poll booth if they don't have polling station at the agent's desk, if they don't have agents present. But campaigning on election day within the 300-foot barrier are all issues that ought not to happen. So those have been the bulk of the complaints, and most are coming from other candidates saying, my competitor is having an unfair advantage because they're allowed to do this, and it shouldn't happen. So we've been escalating those across to the returning officers in the field, and also for the police, who are working alongside us with their separate command center right next door to us, and they're looking into the matters as well as they come up.
Okay, so voting started at 7 a.m. It ends at 6 p.m. When does the voting start?
The counting?
Yes.
The counting starts at 7 p.m. So we give the presiding officers some time to balance off their books. So they have to account for every ballot paper that they've given out. So it's either spoiled or it's in the ballot box. So when the returning officer comes to do the count, they can declare how many ballots are to be counted, and at the end of it, it should net out to 0. So that process takes a bit of time. That's done in the presence of the agents, who can be there all day long with that ballot box from the time it was shown open and empty in the morning until it's sealed up, and that balancing happened, and they hand it over to the returning officer. That agent, if they're also a counting agent, stays with the box all the way through the count. So it's a very transparent process, although it's a process that protects the voters' privacy, because the way that the ballots are done in Cayman, it's impossible to tell whose ballot it is unless the voter writes their name on the ballot.
Yeah, so you mentioned spoiled ballots.
Yeah.
Is that something that happens quite frequently here in Cayman? Or?
Not so much. Our percentage of spoiled ballots is very small. So now that we have single-member electoral districts, if somebody votes for more than one candidate, that's a spoiled ballot. If their ballot is marked in such a way that we can't clearly tell, so if their X, for example, crosses exactly the line between two candidates and you can't determine which one, then that's a spoiled ballot, because you can't call it one way or the other. So we have very, very few of those. Now and again, we'll actually find a ballot that has no markings on it at all. They just go through the process and just didn't mark. So, but not very many of those. Very, 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 very small.
Okay, so if I'm at home and I want to see the numbers, the number of voters, and then later on, of course, all the latest information, where can I get that information?
So we're quite proud of our website. We try to publish information that's really relevant and up to date. So we have some links at the bottom of our website that takes you to the hourly polls and then some rolling statistics. So currently those are based now on the hourly counts of persons, number of voters that have voted. As of 7 p.m., we'll switch to the count metrics, and we'll report on a box that is counted. So how many votes for each candidate in a particular box, once that box is settled and agreed on.
Okay, so this will all be in real time on your website?
As soon as the box is counted, they call that into our command center. We have a team of people that verify that we're typing those numbers in accurately, and when they hit publish, it updates on our website. And we have maps that sort of show those numbers going out in each of the 19 electoral districts. Okay,
so finally, when do you think the final counts may be in? It varies, right? So
2017, we were completed with our counts and had declared all 19 electoral districts by, I think it was like 11:45, just before midnight. We've added 2,400 voters since then, thereabouts. So I'm looking for somewhere around midnight. But one thing we're not doing is rushing the count, because we want to make sure that everybody in that room is satisfied that we've called those ballots correctly, and we can agree on the total, and then we can publish solid numbers.
All right. Any final words?
Just want to encourage those persons who might be sitting around waiting on the polls to get out and get their vote in if they want to vote today. And I visited a couple of polling stations today, Prospect being one of the larger ones. And I asked a voter coming out, how long did it take you? How was it? So it was great. And how long did it take you? 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we had people waiting this morning like we normally do. We have some
Right.
early risers that want to get it over and done with. And then we have some folks that will trickle in the afternoon. But
Right.
the numbers have been fairly solid. But we've staffed up, added polling stations to account for the growth. So we're still managing to keep those wait times really small. So encourage people to come out, cast your vote if you're registered to vote. And we look forward to announcing the results later on.
All right. Well, I went at 9:30 this morning. I'm in Newlands. It was seamless. It was smooth. It was so rapid that people were asking me, "You're done already?" So that's a good testament to you and your team.
So good feedback there for sure.
Yes, Mr. Howell, thank you so much, of course, for joining us here for this update from the election office. Of course, we thank you, our viewers, for joining us for this update, and we invite you to come back here and tune into CIG Television later on at 6 p.m. this evening. Until then, enjoy your afternoon.